Emergency warnings have been issued for blazes burning in New South Wales. The Chanjara fire to the west of Jervis Bay is burning out of control and may impact the Princes Highway later today. A second warning has been issued for the Green Wattle Creek blaze in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney, and a third emergency warning has been issued for the Currawong fire in the Shoalhaven area. These emergencies followed the New South Wales Premier Gladys Berejiklian declaring a state of emergency over the next 7 days as heatwave conditions impact firegrounds. Reporter Laura Beavis joins us now from the RFS headquarters in Sydney. Firstly, Laura, talk us through these emergency warnings.
Yes, Roz, we still have 3 emergency warnings. The first is for the Currawong fire. The communities of Dolphin Point, Burrell Lake, Bungalow Park and Kings Point are told to stay in place and take shelter. Do not leave, it's too late to do that now. The Green Wattle Creek fire is at emergency level. Communities of Buxton, Kurridjara, Thirlmere, Tarmore, Bargo and Yandera and Balmoral are to shelter in place. It is too late to leave, and we've also heard that the ABC's own helicopters have spotted at least 3 homes destroyed at Balmoral caused by that fire. The RFS has been unable to confirm that to us yet, but they do expect the number of homes that have been destroyed to increase statewide. The number is around 772. That's going to get bigger today. The other emergency warning is for the Tianjara fire. Jerrawangola and Wandanian communities are told to shelter in place with an emergency warning for that fire as well.
And firefighters battling this extreme heat and these very strong winds, Laura.
Yes, well, we were told earlier that there would be a cool change. The westerly wind that's been blowing the heat from central Australia was going to switch to a southerly, which will lead to cooler conditions, which are great later in the day, but right now they'll actually be causing problems for firefighters, turning some of those fire fronts into broader fronts with gusts that tends to up the fire activity. So we heard from Commissioner Shane Fitzsimmons earlier today that it's going to be extremely difficult. I will also let you know about some evacuation centres that have been opened. There are evacuation centres at the Ulladulla Civic Centre, St George Basin, Picton Bowls Club and the Mittagong RSL. So for those people affected by the emergency warnings or who've had to leave, they can go to those places to be safe.
So conditions are forecast to cool down during the course of the afternoon, but the heat then returns.
Yes, well, after a bit of a reprieve tomorrow, we're hearing that Saturday is actually going to be worse than today, which gives you some idea of how bad this can be. Penrith was expecting up to about 45 degrees today, 40 in Sydney. We've heard of temperatures of 39 and 40 in those firegrounds south of Sydney where the emergency warnings are at. It's going to be extremely difficult for people. Gladys Berejiklian spoke to the media earlier this morning. She's declared a state of emergency in New South Wales for the next 7 days. Now, that's the second state of emergency the state has had so far this year. The first was in November, and it grants extraordinary powers to the RFS Commissioner. And Gladys Berejiklian said that this is the worst fire season in living memory, and so extraordinary measures had to be taken. Here's a little of what she had to say.
The decision to declare a state of emergency is not one taken lightly. It normally only goes for 7 days, and you have to make sure that conditions are serious enough for that declaration to be made. We also can't afford to have people be complacent. You only declare states of emergency when it's absolutely necessary and on advice, expert advice from commissioners. In fact, the Commissioner and myself and the Minister discuss this almost on a daily basis.
So, Laura, what powers does the state of emergency give to the Commissioner?
Well, it gives him quite extraordinary powers. He can do things like order road closures, direct the operations of state public servants and the public services, the Department of Environment, for instance. He can direct all logistics on the ground. It means that he doesn't have to go through other levels of bureaucracy to get permission to do that. Instead, he gives the order and it happens. But he says that with the extraordinary conditions we're seeing, it's really necessary. This is what he had to say earlier today.
Our job is about trying to protect and secure and limit the spread of these fires and trying to get suppression on edges as much as we can. But the enormity and scale of these things, we're nearing 3 million hectares already, and we're up around 8,500 fires so far this season. So that's the sort of challenge that firefighters and emergency services personnel are facing every day, and we've seen it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out now since winter.
Laura, the acting Prime Minister Michael McCormack visited where you are, RFS headquarters today. Was he asked about whether Prime Minister Scott Morrison might cut his holiday short?
Yes, Acting Prime Minister McCormack was asked several times about what would happen with the Prime Minister's holiday. Journalists questioned whether, with a state of disaster having been declared in New South Wales, it would be appropriate for him to come back. However, Acting Prime Minister McCormack said that the Prime Minister was being kept up to date with the situation and that it was appropriate for him to continue his holiday. Here's how he responded to those questions.
Well, the Prime Minister's very across this issue. He's getting daily briefings and he's very across it. The Prime Minister and I, we're very much getting daily briefings, if not hourly briefings, on the situation. Of course, I'm here right now as Acting Prime Minister, and I know that David Littleproud is on the ground getting those important assessments and updates as well. Well, of course he's concerned. Of course he's making sure that at a federal level everything is being done.
Undoubtedly, the Prime Minister is also being kept up to date with things like the number of properties lost. Just recapping a little of what we've heard, the ABC can confirm that 3 properties have been lost at the Balmoral fire. There are 3 emergency warnings in place, so the Currawong fire, Green Wattle Creek fire and Tianjara. And we await further information on what impact those fires are having, Ros.
OK, Laura, thank you for the update. Let's get more on that devastating fire in Balmoral in New South Wales. Now reporter Mark Reddy is there.
Well, as you can see, the Green Wattle fire has really flared up in the last few hours. You can see the fire burning deep in that national park there. It's encroaching on properties just over to my right here at Balmoral. A man is currently holed up inside there with his 2 dogs. It is now too late to leave this area. We are seeing a number of crews defending properties in this area. They're arriving in their numbers. The smoke is incredibly thick and the smell of the smoke is really strong. Those flames you can see through the bush there are about 3 metres high, and it really is becoming quite dangerous on this property. We have seen a number of spot fires that were here moments ago. You can probably see a bit of black down there now where a spot fire has just been put out by this truck here, but this situation is incredibly fluid. This fire has been burning for quite some time, and it has burnt through more than 150,000 hectares. So crews today will of course be preparing for those stronger winds this afternoon, and those conditions are expected to get far worse.
Mark Reddy at Balmoral there. Well, a bushfire burning at Tianjara south of Nowra is also at emergency level. The Royal Fire Service says the fire to the west of Jarvis Bay is burning out of control and may impact the Princes Highway later today. Jessica Clifford has more.
Well, what we know is the fire activity is increasing on the fire ground here at Tianjara, and in fact firefighters will not be trying to slow the spread of this fire. They are going straight in for property protection here this afternoon. The fire is on the western side of Braidwood Road, and there are road closures in the area. People in the Wandandian and Jerrawangla areas have been told that it is too late to leave, and crews are worried that this fire may impact on the Princes Highway today and block access to Sussex Inlet Road. Now, we also know that this is not the only fire burning in the Shoalhaven. Down at Currawong, just between Bateman's Bay and Ulladulla, there is also a significant fire burning. That fire does remain at an advice level, but crews are working to stop the spread of that fire as it heads north towards the Milton and Ulladulla area.
Well, Selby Stewart is in the Blue Mountains, the site of the Green Wattle Creek fire, which also is at emergency level. I spoke to him a short time ago.
No way to sugarcoat this. This is a very serious situation. At the moment, we're actually near Tarmoor, and this Green Wattle Creek fire ripped through the northeast part of Natai National Park. It's burst out at Balmoral, and now it's moved down to Bargo, and it's moving towards Tarmoor. We were just over where the fire front was coming past, and it was one of the more ferocious fires that I've seen this season. The flames were well above the trees. It was about 30 metres high. The smoke is absolutely incredible. If you can see up just above my shoulder, this smoke has been pouring out towards, it's heading in an easterly direction, and This is the old Hume Highway we're on now, and it's been blocked by police. And just to give you an idea of how desperate it is for some of these residents that are here currently, moments ago a car came and was screaming at the police at this roadblock to let them through, and they didn't, and he drove straight past the police officer who dived out of the way. That happened about 5 minutes ago. Down at Ashby Close as well, which is only about 5 minutes away from where we are, residents were scrambling to wet their houses. They were cleaning up debris, but they have now been evacuated, and it is a very large operation here. There are 3 or 4 aerial units that we've seen trying to stop the spread of this fire. It is moving very, very quickly. It is incredibly windy here as well, and very, very warm. So at the moment, it's a very volatile situation here.
And is there a change of wind forecast during the course of the afternoon, Selby?
Sorry, Ros, I didn't catch that. That truck just moved past.
Very noisy there. Is there a change of wind forecast that's going to make life even harder for firefighters in the afternoon?
That's right. One of the RFS members before, I just heard him saying they felt like this southerly change was coming through already, and it is really gusty, and there's concerns that that could push that fire closer to Tarmore. And to give you an idea of the lay of the land here, there are a lot of properties here. We've seen at least 100 that are in this Tarmore area, and it is very dense and dry bushland out the back of Tarmore, and this is where the fire is moving to now. So fire crews are really doing all they can to stay ahead of this fire. And for a lot of these residents, as we drove in, there was a line of at least 100, probably more cars backed up along the old Hume Highway trying to flee from this area. So there's a very large operation, and that change in conditions will, again, like we've seen so many times, make this a very unpredictable fire to fight for the fire crews.
And just finally, any news of properties lost or structures that have been burnt so far?
We haven't had any official confirmation here that homes have been lost. We have seen footage of at least one home that was definitely, at the very least, damaged by fire. That was up near Balmoral. Footage showed the flames moving around the property, around the back of it. So we're unsure if that property has been officially lost. But there are lots of homes around here, and it really is a big effort for fire crews. But no official confirmation that we've received on the ground here of homes lost.